or dealing with anything like that.
Oh my God.
I am
Yeah. Yeah.
pleased to y'all. I'm I'm an
Yeah.
educator for Baltimore City Schools, so I'm doing my virtual arts classrooms with my first grade through eighth. So like on certain days out the week, I have my whole room set up. It's already in studio form anyway, but I have my whiteboard and I'm like still trying to figure out these angles with the camera so they can see. We just did our with my second graders 2 days ago, our continuous line drawings. I'm holding a plant here and I'm drawing with the other hand. So it's very challenging versus when you can kind of sit the object on the table, and my space is limited. So it's kind of that going on. And then my twins that are 11 in the background, excited to see their friends on their video chats. They're doing scavenger hunts and all kind of things in the background.
It's
So, and then I'm giving them my own personal lessons because now they're only half the time. They basically have a half a day. Our students have a half a day now because they're not engaged all day as they're accustomed to. So I feel like being that they told all of the students basically you can't fail regardless, and they're giving them this number system. You get a 0, a 1, 2, or 2 or 3. A lot of the kids are lax, so I'm trying to keep my twins abreast of like, no, we're not doing that. You have to still fulfill a curriculum, go ahead of the game. So when school comes back in, you still will be behind, but not extremely behind. So that is a challenge, even as an educator. So I feel for my peers and counterparts that are don't have any educational background, because it's a challenge for us educators as well. So yeah.
I have to definitely piggyback off that one. After leaving from teaching at Tench Tillman, teaching dance and
Tillman,
Tench, teaching dance and rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had to shift my attention, and it just so happened that my secondary job, which is executive assistant for Aubrey Artworks, we decided to come up with a series of online artwork classes for kids. One of our teachers was supposed to be on today, which is Jasmine. She's a part of that. And then Josh Brooks is a local Baltimore artist as well. Phenomenal guy. He's another one of our teachers. But we teach an array of classes, and they constantly keep changing. But that's been a good, a great aspect of this shift, because I'm not in front of the camera. Like, I moved to the technical work for them. So handling the camera, the lighting, and audio.
I just want to give it up to all parents. Oh, sorry, Asia, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that before you go to the next question, I just want to say that during this time, I've really enjoyed how people are using their social media as a tool, to stay in the forefront and market, and just using technology has just been the power for us right now. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm learning a lot of new things. I'm not a parent yet, but kudos to all the teachers and the instructors and everybody who's got to teach virtually, because I know that's a challenge. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I just have to give it up to parents, because I talked to a parent the other day, because we do virtual after school programming. And it was like I was doing session with her and her son, because she was like, look, I'm not prepared for this. She's like, it was hard enough doing homework when they got home, but now I'm a teacher, I'm a counselor, I'm a therapist, and a mom. She's like, where, talking about where do you draw the line? When do you log them off? And I couldn't imagine having another person to take care of, period, and then plus have to do homeschooling and actually do your job. My sisters, I don't know how they do it. And the challenge is too, and still be an artist, because now, as of today, I'm sending Rasheem, my profile's not up here. I'm just so discombobulated, because now what happens is, as an artist, parenting, you push all of your things that you usually, it's a lot similar, but not as similar as when you had to go in the classroom, because I do feel I have more time. But now it's I'm pulling these all-nighters 4 or 5 in the morning, and then I have to be on the chat, so that way now they have Baltimore City School administration come in and checking to see if teachers are in there doing their job, because we're, in their eyes, we're basically home collecting the chat. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So they're like going in our virtuals to see if we in there doing our office hours, so that way our students can have accessibility to us. So it's like literally 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm customizing for an order, and then I'm like, oh, this is about to be a long day, because the kids still got to eat and you got to entertain them, and and that's a schedule that artists do anyway. But it's a lot more challenging, it seems like, for me now doing the weekdays, at least Monday through Thursday, because Friday we really have not as many obligations as teachers. So
I know that
know how many kids were going to show up. I didn't know if I could mentally and physically do it, because I do work a full-time job. But I just, with Rasheem and Ty, I just put it out there and people bit back. I have 17 kids in the acting and music class now. I have 10 kids in the visual arts class, which is perfect. They're enjoying it. They're growing. I'm seeing their growth. They're sending me videos of them singing and they sound great. They're sending videos of them acting and doing TikToks. And it's all just somehow coming together. I randomly have a student who lives in Canada, and she's been inviting her cousins. So they're asking me for a summer program, and I'm like, whoa, what's happening? So yeah, it's just been really, really, really rewarding and fulfilling. And I'm so grateful to have this time. I am exhausted, but my all and my heart is being put into it. And that's all that I could ask for. So, yeah.
Asia said, "Yay, Cameron!" I think it's a good portion to talk about the importance of arts in education. One of the first things that regularly seems to get cut in education is art.
Always.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about or the value of it. One of the reasons why I wanted to ask, like, how did you come to art? Because I feel like sometimes there are barriers. There are barriers to professionalized, validated entry to art, but not barriers when you're young. Mirjani, as someone who actually went to an art institution too, can you talk about the significance of art in education a bit? And then as each person wants to chime in and share, like, why is art important in education?
Oh, for sure. Is she going?
No, you go ahead. Go ahead. You can go ahead.
Oh, me? Well, yeah. I think that there's a connection between art and mental health, and I think that with the rise of mental health and the people and people around the world, paying attention to it. I think like things like art will be won't be the first thing cut out because of the I'm sorry, just jumping up, but
growing up in like just growing up in a mainly academic school. Well, obviously school is academic, but for me, I'm a very visual learner, and I feel like a lot of people are visual learners, and I think that we forget that, where when you see an image, you remember that more, you receive it better. So for me growing up, I had to actually like draw out my study guides instead of writing them down in order for me to actually remember them and understand them. I don't know why, but it just helped me pass my exams better. And obviously I went to an arts college, and I think just applying art to life in general is really important, because once again, everyone is visual. We see things and we learn from everything that we see, rather than the things that I was going to say the things we hear, but I feel like that is also art too, in a sense. It is. It's also art in a sense where I feel like, I just think it's super important, but I don't think people see it as important, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's so important to acknowledge that, like, how people learn is different.
Because that's why I love arts integration. That's like my one of my passions right now. I was doing the arts and learning series for young audience where they take a teacher and a teaching artist, and we took the lessons from the packets and we made these like fun videos on like how to learn different lessons. And it's like, it's so important to when we talk about like how do we include everyone, how do we keep it accessible to everyone, I think arts integration is an important part of that, because regular curriculum doesn't grab every kid, and don't we want to grab every kid? And like if we have this way of integrating art into lessons, especially because arts is integrated in our real lives, right? Like arts is integrated in everything we do in the real life, so trying to separate it out at the school level makes absolutely no sense. Like I love this viral meme about now that, you know, when the coronavirus first hit, everyone was inside, and what were you doing? You were consuming art, you're watching TV, you're listening to music, you're reading books, you consumed art in order to deal with it. And why wouldn't we give kids tools at a young age to deal with life, right? And music and art is such a great tool to deal with that.
I definitely agree. Just to piggyback, Rob, basically what you said, like when I'm teaching my art classes, and I teach, like I said, all levels, K through 12, but my concentration now is I'm in elementary and middle school. And we just did our first arts integration this year, and the kids were blown away because this was my first year doing this, let alone teaching primary and secondary. I'm used to just teaching high school students mostly. And then like we did like Midsummer Night's Dream, you know, Shakespeare. And academically, I've always understood it. I was like big in academics, and I was a visual learner as well. So where some people had routes of lecture, I had more of a different route. So I definitely agree with you guys with that. Like I had to do flashcards, draw things that I could remember it. And we do like rap songs and things like that, so that way the students can understand the lesson. Like we did a novel about the Army, and I worked with one of our amazing English teachers at Walter B. Carter, and I built, never knew I could do anything like this, by the way. I guess if you're just visual, you're visual. I built a real Jeep and had like 2 Army men sitting in a Jeep. And we had like stacks of boxes, but on top of it was the camouflage fabric that we ordered from Amazon. So we set the kids up in the trenches, and then their cool down or their therapy session was like a coop, like a chicken coop. It was like if like, you know, you need a cool down or mental break or brain break. And that was like it was a tent, a real Army tent that they could go in there and listen to headphones and cool down. So because people came to our school, this is my first year teaching at the school, and I executed the visual aspect because he did the English aspect and his take on things, and I just brought it to life. This is the first year I did this, and I was just like so excited for the next book. And they did Animal Farm, so he went and actually physically bought real haystacks, and the kids sat on the haystacks. They learned on the haystacks, and I did like this horse behind with like some fake weave, so it could look like a horse on this square I don't know, some wheeler thing that had some supplies in it. And the carpet was grass, like real grass. Like we spent a lot of money into this, but it was so worth it because to open it up for the students when they came in, similar to my inspiration on one of those teachers that did a Harry Potter room. I don't know if you guys saw it. And she had the candles floating in the sky like it was a real Harry Potter book. It's a part of like an arts integration ordeal. And that gave me a lot of inspiration. So now I'm like really excited when we get some sense of normalcy, then I'll be able to do that again. But the kids were blown away. They were more engaged in the book because they felt like they were in the setting of the book. And it really does work. It really does work.
I think I'd have to say like, I think that art is going to be even stronger, visual art, all aspects of art after this. And because of stories like she just told, you know what I mean, and how Ty told earlier, you know, even the connections that Ty has with her friend, you know, the student on the camera, you know what I mean, those coming from this, it's going to emerge all of the griots that we have, because as artists, that's what we are. We're the storytellers. So all of these stories that are going to come from out of here, you know, the things that everyone on this page is doing and everyone else out there to help teach the kids of all aspects of art is going to help tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very important.